All right, today I'm going to show you a new Marvel Champions deck combination. This is the Panther Viking. We're going to mix Black Panther with some of the new Thor upgrades, specifically some of the hand weapon and the attack cards from the Thor expansion set. Let's get into the build. First, take all of your Black Panther hero cards. Next are going to be your general resources, one copy of Strength, Genius, and Energy. As always, one Helicarrier, one Avengers Mansion. We're going to throw in an Endurance and a Downtime. In this case, Black Panther doesn't have a lot of hit points, even with Endurance, but we're going to bolster his regeneration capabilities with Downtime. Next, we're going to throw in the Viking sort of battle axe from the Thor expansion, and if I butcher this name, I apologize. I think it's Arnborn is how you pronounce that. One copy of Combat Training, two copies of Relentless Assault. To add some physical resources, we're going to use the Enhanced Physique card, two copies from the Thor expansion. Next, we're going to move into Mean Swing, three copies. We're going to add three copies of Battlefury, three copies of Melee, the Valkyrie, Hulk, and Tigra to round it out. I'm going to talk really quickly about resources and something that might be a little bit counterintuitive for this deck. So first off, Black Panther has several copies of Vibranium. I think there's 3 in the hero deck. This is a very, very versatile card, which gives you sort of these general wild resources that you can use for anything. You're obviously going to have one copy of your basic sort of resource cards, and then we're going to round it out with Enhanced Physique. This is one of the only decks I've ever built where we're not going to use the aspect-specific cards. So in this case, we're not going to be using the Power of Aggression in this deck, and the reason why is that Black Panther, mixed with all these other resources on the table, gives you more than enough resources to use during the game. And I found that I could add 2 additional aggression cards to the deck to make it just a little bit more potent. So I almost had too many resources when I was building this deck, and that's why you're not going to see it in here today. To get this deck moving, the first thing you're going to do during your setup using T'Challa, you're going to go into your deck and pull the Panther Claws upgrade out and get that out on the first turn. And this will get the deck sort of moving in the damage output direction. I'll kind of show you why. This deck will be utilizing 3 different weapons. So once you have your Panther Claws out, you can start using some of the combos in this deck. Notice too that the energy daggers are also a weapon, and finally this new sort of Thor battle axe, that is also a weapon. And this is very key to getting the damage output going and some fun combos. Notice too, you can use this card, this battle axe, when you're doing a hero attack, and you can add 2 damage, but notice you're going to need a physical resource. So let's talk about that real quick. The Enhanced Physique card will allow you to put 3 counters on the card, and you can spend them one at a time to generate a physical resource. You're going to be using those resources to trigger 2 different effects that you're seeing on the table. First, you can trigger the Battle Axe effect that will add 2 points of damage to an enemy when you're doing a physical attack. So with Black Panther, you can actually use him to attack and hit for 4 every turn, which is pretty good for just a basic attack. Secondarily, you can activate the Relentless Assault special ability, which gives you overkill on a minion. So you can pound through and destroy a minion, even a mid-sized minion, and any of the extra damage then splashes through and hits the villain on the table. So when you're playing this deck, look for Enhanced Physique to trigger these 2 cards. Always try to keep 1 copy of Enhanced Physique on the table so you can continue to trigger these effects. So now we're going to talk about the card Mean Swing. So we've already seen that this Battle Axe has a lot of utility when it comes to using physical resources. Now we're going to make it even better by using this Mean Swing card. Also note that all 3 of these cards on the table, these are weapon cards, and they can be used with Mean Swing. Mean Swing is a 0-cost event in which you can exhaust a weapon, and it could be any of the 3 that are in your deck that are out on the table, to add +3 to an attack made by your hero. If you have Black Panther out and you use this Mean Swing card in conjunction with any of the weapons, that's going to be 5 attack which is a pretty good amount of damage that you can use to wipe out a minion or hit the villain pretty hard. And for a 0 cost, this is a fantastic way to deal some damage. Let's take this combo up a notch. There's 1 copy of Combat Training in the deck. Once this is on the table, Black Panther will have an attack value of 3. You can use this Mean Swing card to add an additional 3, so that's 6. And then it causes you to exhaust a weapon on the table. And note too that you're going to have additional copies of either the Energy Daggers or the Panther Claws out on the table. You can exhaust those as well. And then what you can do is you can spend a physical resource to add another 2 points of damage. That's going to be 8 points of damage. That hits really hard. This is one of the better attacks in the game for any of the characters. Anytime you're hitting for 8, that's a pretty good hit, especially on the villain. To make things even better, if you don't have Mean Swing, you can always use this combo and use this axe almost every turn because you have those physical counters from Enhanced Physique. That's one of your resource cards in the deck. So you can either be hitting for, let's say, 5 to 8 every turn by just using some of these mechanics that are out on the table. That's a lot of damage output, and it's super cheap to play. To make this combination a little bit more devastating is by using Battlefury. For 1 point, you can put this upgrade into play. After a minion is destroyed, you can take this card and put it into your discard pile to ready your hero. So you can get numerous attacks out of your hero every round. And note too that if you have a couple copies of Mean Swing, maybe even 1 or 2 in your hand, plus this Combat Training, in addition with this axe, you have a lot of versatility for dealing damage on every turn. So I highly recommend putting these into play. You're going to take a little bit of damage on your hero, but that's okay. He's going to have the Endurance card, and he's also going to be having the Downtime card to regenerate some of those lost hit points a little bit better. As a side note, when you're playing Black Panther, do not forget the Retaliate ability that he has. This will add even more damage output to this deck. If your hero is attacked, you can use this Retaliation feature to hit the enemy for 1 point of damage. So this is fantastic. Do not forget this. Oftentimes when I'm playing with Black Panther players, this is kind of forgotten a lot of the time, so don't forget that. It'll add a little bit more damage over the course of the game. At this point, I've probably sold you on the fact that this deck does a ridiculous amount of damage. Well, let's do even more damage. Remember that you have numerous copies of Wakanda Forever in your deck, and you can use it to trigger and activate all of your damage-dealing effects on your Black Panther suit. So if you take all of these new sort of Thor upgrades, using the hand weapons, using all of these different attack bonuses in conjunction with Wakanda Forever, you have a lot of damage output in this deck, and a lot of the events are very, very cheap to play. This one's only 1. You also have 0 for some of the attack abilities like Mean Swing. You can do a lot of damage for really, really cheap costs. This is a fantastic way to play Black Panther. Don't forget about your allies. There's 1 copy of Hulk, Valkyrie, and Tigra in this deck. And go ahead and use these to add even more damage, especially with Hulk. Very cheap to bring out and is a heavy-hitting ally. To summarize, the Panther Viking deck has amazing damage output. It's best played in a 3 to 4 player game where you have another player that's dealing with schemes and threat management. I want to thank you today for taking the time to watch this video, and as always, have fun gaming.